Most people don't think about their kidneys until something feels wrong, but by then, a lot has already been happening quietly in the background. Right now, your kidneys are working nonstop, like a highly advanced filtration system, cleaning your blood, balancing fluids, and removing waste your body no longer needs. And here's what almost no one tells you. The small everyday choices you make, especially what you snack on, can either support this system or slowly overload it. Stay with me, because in a moment I'll explain why some normal snacks may be doing more harm than you realize. And later you'll see how simple changes can reduce that hidden strain. Before we go further, it's important to keep this grounded. This is general health education, not medical advice. And if you have existing kidney concerns, guidance from a qualified professional always comes first. Now think of your kidneys like a pair of smart filters connected to your bloodstream. When you constantly send in high sodium, high sugar, or heavily processed foods, it's like forcing those filters to work under pressure all day long. According to trusted organizations like the NIH and Mayo Clinic, long-term exposure to high blood pressure and unstable blood sugar levels can gradually affect kidney function, even in people who feel completely fine. That's the quiet part. There's usually no early warning. A common mistake people make is assuming only big meals matter, while snacks don't count. But snacks are often repeated 2, 3, even 5 times a day, creating a constant metabolic load. Another mistake is choosing convenience over composition, grabbing salty chips, sugary biscuits, or processed crackers that seem harmless, but keep pushing your system into overdrive. What to do instead starts with awareness. Choosing foods that digest more slowly, contain less added sodium, and don't spike your blood sugar dramatically. Simple shifts like eating whole, plant-based snacks, staying hydrated throughout the day, and spacing meals properly can help your body maintain balance. Even sleep and stress play a role. Poor sleep and chronic stress can raise blood pressure, which indirectly adds pressure to your kidneys over time, something highlighted by institutions like the Cleveland Clinic and Harvard Health. So this isn't about a single superfood, it's about reducing the daily burden. And in the next section, you'll see how one surprisingly simple snack can start doing exactly that. Air-popped popcorn might seem like an ordinary snack, but when you look at how your body actually processes it, the story becomes much more interesting. Think of your bloodstream like a highway. Every time you eat something refined or sugary, it's like a sudden traffic surge, fast and overwhelming, forcing your body to react quickly. In a moment, I'll explain how this directly connects to kidney workload, and later you'll see why something as simple as sodium plays a much bigger role than most people realize. Unlike highly processed snacks, air-popped popcorn is a whole grain, which means it still contains its natural fiber structure. This fiber slows down digestion, allowing glucose to enter your bloodstream gradually instead of all at once. According to organizations like Harvard Health and the NIH, maintaining stable blood sugar levels over time reduces stress, not just on insulin response, but also on organs like the kidneys that filter excess substances from the blood. When blood sugar spikes frequently, your kidneys are forced to filter more glucose, increasing their workload day after day. One common mistake people make is assuming light snacks like flavored popcorn or microwave versions are harmless, but these often come loaded with added sodium, artificial flavorings, and unhealthy fats. That changes everything. High sodium intake, as highlighted by the CDC and Mayo Clinic, is closely linked to increased blood pressure, and elevated blood pressure puts extra pressure on the delicate filtering units inside your kidneys. What to do instead is surprisingly simple but requires intention. Choose plain, air-popped popcorn without added salt or butter, and if you need flavor, use natural herbs or spices instead of packaged seasonings. Another overlooked factor is portion awareness. Eating mindlessly in front of a screen can turn a healthy option into an excessive intake, which still adds unnecessary load to your system. Beyond just the food itself, how you eat matters too. Pairing this snack with proper hydration helps your kidneys process waste more efficiently, and spacing it between balanced meals prevents constant metabolic spikes. Even your daily rhythm plays a role. Late-night snacking, especially on salty foods, can disrupt fluid balance and increase overnight strain on your body, something often emphasized in general wellness guidance from sources like the Cleveland Clinic. So while popcorn won't clean your kidneys in a magical way, it supports a pattern of eating that reduces stress on them over time. And as you'll see next, the type of protein you choose in your snacks can either increase or ease the burden on your kidneys in ways most people completely overlook. Hummus with fresh vegetables may look like a simple everyday snack, but inside your body, it works very differently compared to the typical high-salt processed options most people reach for. Think of your kidneys like a waste processing center. Every time you eat protein, your body breaks it down and creates byproducts that need to be filtered out. In a moment, I'll explain why the type of protein matters more than the amount, and later you'll see how inflammation quietly affects kidney performance over time. Hummus, made primarily from chickpeas, offers plant-based protein, which your body handles more efficiently than many animal-based sources. According to Harvard Health and the NIH, plant-based proteins tend to produce fewer nitrogenous waste products during metabolism, meaning your kidneys don't have to work as hard to filter them. By contrast, a common mistake people make is relying heavily on processed meats, cheese-based snacks, or protein-heavy packaged foods, assuming more protein is always better. But in reality, excess or poorly sourced protein can increase the filtration demand on your kidneys, especially when combined with high sodium levels. Chickpeas also bring something else to the table: fiber. And this is where things get interesting. Fiber slows digestion, supports stable blood sugar, and feeds beneficial gut bacteria, which are increasingly linked to reduced systemic inflammation, as noted in research discussed by institutions like the Cleveland Clinic and Mayo Clinic. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of those silent stressors that doesn't feel obvious day to day, but over time it can affect blood vessels and organ function, including the kidneys. What to do instead is focus on balance. Choose plain, unsalted hummus and pair it with fresh vegetables like cucumber, carrots, or celery instead of salted crackers or chips. Another mistake is ignoring labels. Many store-bought hummus options contain added sodium and preservatives that can cancel out the benefits. Beyond just ingredients, timing and pairing matter too. Eating this kind of snack between meals can help prevent energy crashes, reducing the urge for sugary or processed foods later in the day. Hydration also plays a role here. Fiber works best when your body has enough fluids, helping digestion and supporting the natural elimination processes your kidneys are part of. Even stress and eating speed matter more than people think. Rushed eating can affect digestion efficiency, while chronic stress can influence blood pressure, which indirectly impacts kidney workload, a connection highlighted by organizations like the CDC. So while hummus isn't a superfood fix, it fits into a pattern that reduces unnecessary strain on your system. And as you'll see next, one unexpected snack, often misunderstood, can support both blood sugar control and heart health in a way that also benefits your kidneys. Oatmeal cookies might sound like the last thing you would associate with kidney-friendly eating, but the difference lies entirely in how they are made and what ingredients are used. Think of your body like a system that prefers steady input rather than sudden spikes. When you eat refined sugar-heavy snacks, it's like turning a faucet fully on and off repeatedly, forcing your internal systems to constantly adjust. In a moment, I'll explain how one specific component in oats changes this response completely, and later you'll see why this also connects to heart health in a way most people overlook. Oats contain a type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan, which forms a gel-like substance in your digestive tract. This slows down how quickly carbohydrates are absorbed into your bloodstream, leading to a more gradual rise in blood sugar instead of a sharp spike. According to Harvard Health and the Mayo Clinic, maintaining stable blood sugar levels helps reduce metabolic stress across multiple systems, including the kidneys, which are responsible for filtering excess glucose from the blood. A common mistake people make is assuming all oat-based products are equal. But many store-bought oatmeal cookies are loaded with refined sugar, butter, and processed fats that completely override the benefits of oats. What to do instead is focus on simple whole ingredients: rolled oats, natural sweetness from fruits like banana, and spices such as cinnamon, which are often discussed in general nutrition guidance for their supportive role in managing inflammation. And that brings us to another important layer: inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation can affect blood vessels over time, including those in the kidneys, and organizations like the Cleveland Clinic and NIH highlight how dietary patterns rich in whole foods can help support a more balanced inflammatory response. Beta-glucan also plays a role in supporting cholesterol balance by binding to certain compounds in the digestive system and helping remove them before they enter circulation. This matters because your heart and kidneys are closely connected. When blood vessels remain healthier, blood flow improves, and the kidneys don't have to work as hard under pressure, a relationship emphasized by sources like the CDC. Another overlooked factor is portion and frequency. Even healthier snacks can become counterproductive if eaten excessively or late at night when your body is less active. Pairing these cookies with a balanced daily routine, regular movement, adequate hydration, and consistent sleep creates a more supportive environment for your body to function efficiently. So the goal isn't to think of oatmeal cookies as a health food, but rather as a smarter alternative when prepared correctly. And as you'll see next, sometimes the simplest, most overlooked snack can actually give your kidneys something they rarely get, a break from constant workload. Puffed rice cakes often get overlooked because they seem too plain to offer any real benefit, but sometimes simplicity is exactly what your body needs. Think of your kidneys like a factory with a daily workload limit. Every time you eat foods high in sodium, phosphorus, or heavily processed ingredients, it's like sending extra shipments that require more time and energy to process. In a moment, I'll explain why reducing this invisible workload matters more than adding more nutrients, and later you'll see how even small daily choices can either ease or increase this burden over time. Puffed rice cakes are naturally low in sodium and relatively light in minerals that the kidneys must carefully regulate, such as phosphorus and potassium. According to organizations like the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and guidance referenced by the National Kidney Foundation, managing the intake of these minerals becomes increasingly important as kidney function is challenged because the body relies on the kidneys to maintain proper balance in the blood. A common mistake people make is choosing flavored or processed rice cakes, assuming they are still a healthy snack, but these often contain added salt, artificial flavorings, and phosphate additives that increase the filtering demand on your kidneys. What to do instead is choose plain, unsalted versions and keep toppings minimal and thoughtful. Another mistake is constantly layering snacks with high-sodium spreads like processed cheese or deli meats, which quickly turns a low-burden food into a high-load one. Instead, adding simple options like fresh cucumber slices or a thin layer of unsalted plant-based spreads keeps the overall impact lighter on your system. The key idea here is not just what you eat, but how much stress it creates internally. The CDC and Mayo Clinic both emphasize that long-term dietary patterns, especially those high in sodium, are linked to increased blood pressure, and elevated blood pressure places additional strain on the small blood vessels in the kidneys. This is where puffed rice cakes stand out. They don't add much extra demand, giving your body a chance to maintain balance. Hydration also plays an important role alongside this type of snack. When you consume lighter, low-sodium foods and pair them with adequate fluid intake, your kidneys can perform their filtering function more efficiently. Even your eating habits matter. Frequent, mindless snacking, especially on processed foods, keeps your body in a constant state of processing, while more intentional choices allow for periods of metabolic rest. Sleep and stress tie into this as well, since poor sleep and chronic stress can influence hormone levels that affect fluid balance and blood pressure, a connection often highlighted by institutions like the Cleveland Clinic. So while puffed rice cakes may not seem impressive on the surface, they represent something powerful, reducing unnecessary load. And when you understand that supporting your kidneys is often about lowering daily stress rather than adding complexity, you begin to see how these small, simple choices can quietly make a difference over time. When you step back and look at everything together, the real takeaway is not about any single snack, but about the pattern you create every day. Your kidneys respond to consistency, not occasional healthy choices. Think of your body like a long-term system that adapts to what you repeatedly do. If most of your snacks are high in sodium, sugar, and processed ingredients, your kidneys are constantly working under pressure. In a moment, I'll explain why this cumulative effect matters more than people think, and later you'll see how small routine changes can create a noticeable shift over time. According to organizations like the NIH, CDC, and Mayo Clinic, long-term habits that influence blood pressure, blood sugar, and inflammation are some of the biggest factors connected to kidney health. This is why one of the most common mistakes people make is focusing on short-term fixes, trying a healthy snack for a few days while the rest of their routine stays the same. What to do instead is build a simple, repeatable rhythm, choosing whole, lower sodium snacks, spacing them properly between meals, and avoiding constant grazing that keeps your body in a continuous state of processing. Another mistake is ignoring lifestyle factors outside of food. Sleep, for example, plays a direct role in regulating hormones that control blood pressure and fluid balance, and poor sleep patterns have been linked by institutions like the Cleveland Clinic and Harvard Health to increased cardiovascular strain, which indirectly affects kidney function. Stress is another hidden factor. Chronic stress can elevate blood pressure and influence how your body handles glucose, adding to the overall load your kidneys must manage. Movement also matters more than people realize. Regular, moderate physical activity supports circulation, helping nutrients and waste products move more efficiently through the body, which supports the kidney's filtration role. Hydration ties all of this together. Adequate fluid intake helps your kidneys perform their natural function of removing waste, but balance is key, not extremes. It's also important to keep this grounded. This is general health information, not medical advice, and anyone with existing kidney concerns should seek guidance from a qualified professional before making significant dietary changes. The bigger picture here is simple but powerful. Supporting your kidneys is less about adding special foods and more about reducing daily strain through consistent, balanced habits. When you combine smarter snack choices with better sleep, lower stress, regular movement, and proper hydration, you create an environment where your body can function more efficiently over time. And once you understand that, you start to realize that protecting your kidneys isn't about dramatic changes. It's about the small decisions you repeat every single day.